Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Medal video. In this video we are going to take on the Revenge category only stage of Super Battle Road. So the Super Battle Road stage, or the new Super Battle Road stages, obviously have brought about new categories and new challenges. We are taking on the Revenge category with a Wicked Bloodlines focused team. The Revenge category lead is actually AGL Bardock. He is the distinct lead for the AGL, well, for the Revenge category. He's the only lead currently available. For those of you who don't have AGL Bardock, the Wicked Bloodlines team that we're currently using, led by Metal Cooler, is probably your next best bet, as quite a few Coolers and Freezers are on this team. And yeah, they make a pretty good team. There's also quite a few good free-to-play options that we can utilize, mainly being the Metal Int Cooler from the Dokkan Battlefield stage. So yeah, or from Dokkan Battlefield points that you can invest and thus have yourself the Cooler. So yeah, we have a pretty interesting lineup. We have the Tech Freezer, who's going to be one of our main sources of damage. Obviously a very powerful unit, especially after his recent EZA. A very strong unit, very useful, very handy for a lot of situations, and he's going to be a very powerful unit for us. We have the Int Metal Cooler that we obviously got from the Dokkan Battlefield shop. And then we have double AGL Cooler, or AGL Transforming Metal Cooler leads. Those are also going to help us quite a bit. And yeah, that's kind of like the main focus of the team. We then have the Physical Movie Bosses Freezer, the free-to-play one from the DBS Broly movie event. He has damage reduction, so he will take quite a bit of damage before his damage reduction kicks in. But he otherwise will be pretty decent and pretty solid for us. So if you have a damage reduction item active, he actually doesn't take that much damage, because even though he gains his defense on hit, the stacking of the damage reduction on top of his damage reduction already will help out. Plus he's a movie bosses category lead, not lead, sorry, support, which, you know, does help us out quite a bit. So overall, Freezer's a nice little option to have, and obviously gives us another free-to-play unit to utilize, which, you know, is quite helpful. It does obviously let us expand on our free-to-play repertoire within the team. The AGL Metal Cooler's transformation is also going to come quite in handy. It essentially allows us to get these free turns of damage. Remember, it can only occur once you are below the 50% health threshold. Then you will be able to essentially use Metal Cooler's transformation and be able to get some pretty good damage out of him without taking any damage back. Remember, that is kind of the perk of transformation units, is that, yeah, although you're probably going to miss super attacks, you will at least be able to get this free turns of damage. To round out the rest of the team, we have the Int Metal Cooler support, and we also have the Int Golden Freezer support. So both units are incredibly good supports, Golden Freezer being a support for the target Goku category, which a lot of Freezers are part of, and Coolers. And then of course the Int Metal Cooler is a extreme class attack and defense support as well. So yeah, we have a pretty good lineup here, nice mixture of supports. The Int Metal Cooler might be a little bit outdated, but he should be more than fine. Also a great linking partner with the Metal Cooler Army unit. We then also, of course, have we have the Golden Freezer providing a large amount of support as well. He's exceptionally good, great defense. He stacks his defense. He also has crits against Goku units. The one issue with running the Wicked Bloodlines team is that all of the enemies you face are actually extreme. So when you're facing all these extreme type enemies, you actually don't gain the full set of advantages that you would have in situations like with running a Bardock team. Running Bardock as your lead, you have two Bardocks. Bardock gains a lot of boosts against extreme type enemies, against Freezer type units, or units with Freezer in the name, I should say. So for the most part, like running Bardock is going to be way more efficient than running this Wicked Bloodlines team. This team still does really well, but I have link leveled them. I have put in a lot of work in them. So yes, it works really well, but at the same time, it is something that you do just need to be aware of. It would be way better for you to run a double Bardock led team. You would get more damage out, you would get more results out. But the Wicked Bloodlines is a decent alternative. As you can see from this first fight, we haven't really struggled too much with anything. It's all gone relatively smoothly. So yeah, it's just going to depend on what kind of box you have or what kind of units you have. Other strong revenge units are units like Cell, Perfect Form Cell, because obviously he revives back and seeks revenge. Then you've got mainly the coolers. You've got, I think, some of the Broly's are also on the revenge category. And then you also obviously have the Bardock units. It is a bit strange how Bardock is on the revenge category for seeking revenge, I guess, for his race. Whereas like Cooler's not on it because he's seeking revenge for his brother or vengeance. But I mean, you know, tomato, it's not really a big deal. The first fight is a 2-unit fight, and the second fight also is a 2-unit fight, and then the third fight is against 1 unit in Frieza. So obviously Bardock will be super effective in that final fight against Frieza with all his buffs and all the extra benefits he gets while fighting against Frieza and Wicked Bloodlines units. So yeah, that is something to be aware of. But for the most part, we're just kind of fighting through enemies that I think Bardock fought. So you can clearly see this stage was basically designed for him, you know. So yeah, one of the fortunate things about the Wicked Bloodlines team build is that you have double AGL Cooler. Double AGL Cooler obviously provides a lot of attack lowering, which is super helpful in fights where you're fighting 2 enemies. It means essentially you can keep them both debuffed, which is, you know, quite helpful. Obviously it reduces the amount of damage that they do, and generally speaking we don't seem to have too many problems. Frieza, the tech Frieza, acts as a tremendous source of our damage, which is something, you know, that is a relative concern if you're trying to go for this team build. You will probably need this Frieza, the tech transforming Frieza, because his damage it's a very high load for the team, which obviously helps. When you are getting multiple super attacks from Metal Cooler, he can also do some really good damage. His passive allows him to essentially have a really good chance of firing 2 additional supers per turn. So if you've built him into crit, he should be able to do a decent amount of damage. Not anything too crazy, but he should be able to do a very solid amount of damage, and thus also help out the team. You can see here though that in terms of this team build, it's very much centered around having set rotations and having units like the Int Golden Frieza, the Int Metal Cooler, all act as supporting functions, because that's generally speaking going to be what gets us to, how do I, you know, it's going to be what gets us through the stages. Generally you will move units off for type disadvantage, but for the most part we're able to keep set rotations, which helps us out a lot because we do have some set damage dealers who do carry a lot of the workload in terms of offensive capabilities, and that is something to just bear in mind, because it, you know, is something that's important and obviously matters quite a bit. So yeah, this is the final stage. It wasn't against Frieza, it was against, I think, I can't remember his name. I think it's not Cooler because that's his brother, it's not King Cold because that's his father. I think it's no, I can't remember what it is, but yeah, he's the enemy for the final round. He actually was an ancestor of Frieza's, who fights Bardock and causes Bardock to turn into the original Super Saiyan. So yeah, a bit of time traveling, bit of, you know, stuff going on there. We do need to be very careful because he is tech type and we are rocking multiple cooler leads, which is a problem that we do need to be aware of. This is where int metal cooler is going to come in handy, hopefully getting us some multiple super attacks that will do quite a lot of damage because he is type advantage, and having the metal coolers obviously get some form of attack lowering will also help, but for the most part we're going to be relying on the int units to really dish out some damage and kind of get us through the stage. Int golden freezer will help here, type advantage. The int metal cooler will be a lot safer here, type advantage. So generally speaking in SBR, for those of you who don't know, if you are fighting multiple units, if you are fighting 5 units or you're fighting 1 unit, generally speaking the 1 unit or a single unit will have a lot more health and will have a lot more damage in defense comparatively to 5 or 4 units. Those units are generally easier to take out individually, and thus things like the Dokkan attack help in terms of taking out those units because they all have around 6 million health, so a Dokkan attack of 4 million almost kills all of them pretty much, whereas when you're fighting 1 unit, the Dokkan attack doesn't really act in the same way because it's more just a super effective high damage attack against that unit. And you can see that here, how we're not like finishing more than 1 blow with the Dokkan attack, so it is something to be aware of. Obviously, if you do run the Bardock team, you want to transform Bardock relatively early into the fight. He gains ceiling and he gains damage reduction and evasion, which will help him quite a bit against this tech unit because it is a bit of a problem for him, but also the guaranteed criticals will also help. So yeah, that really would help if you're running the Bardock team. If you're running the Wicked Bloodlines team, your main source of damage is going to be metal int cooler, and you just kind of want to move the AGL ones off rotation if you can. They are in a pretty dangerous spot unless you have things like big bad bosses activated, or you have them with multiple dupes like I do. In this situation you can kind of leave them there because their attack lowering does really help out, and we were left with an excess of items, so for the most part we are in quite a, I want to say, confident position where we're able to use items to just kind of cover our team's shortfall. But yeah, definitely metal cooler comes clutch here, firing off a silo of super attacks, which really helps us out. You can see here he's firing off multiple super attacks. With his type advantage, with some crits, he can really chunk out quite a bit of damage. You can see here he did 3 or 4 super attacks, really knocking down the health of this enemy. So yeah, you can see really helped us out there. Big turn from metal cooler, so that really does help. So yeah, for the most part the fight was relatively straightforward. Obviously just metal cooler helped us out quite a bit at the end there, but we were pretty safe for the most part. Our damage was pretty good. Like I said, if you've got Bardock, you're just going to be transforming Bardock a lot earlier into the fight. You're going to want that damage reduction, you're going to want that criticals, you're going to want that chance of evasion, and you're just realistically going to need that because Bardock will be quite vulnerable in his first state, and that's not going to let you get the victory that you want. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the stage. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. How did you find the stage? What team did you use? And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. But as always, take care, stay safe, and until next time, bye.